Hi, and congratulations on your 2019 Special Edition Rogue. This is a great addition to the lineup. It's our S model, but with some additional features. I know we covered a lot during the delivery, and it's an exciting time picking up a new vehicle, so we're going to go back through everything just to refresh your memory. At the end of the video, if you still have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me, and my contact info will follow. Let's have a look at your brand new vehicle and what you got with it. Over here at our display, we've got a beautiful 7-inch touchscreen display. Everything is fully laid out here. We've got some physical buttons on each side, and then we've got some buttons along the bottom here that I can touch. First thing I'm going to do is go into my settings. In here, I can connect a phone by going into connections, and then I simply hit add new. You want to be in the Bluetooth settings on your phone, and then you're going to look for one that says My Rogue and follow the prompts. It's very simple to hook up. There is one extra caveat to that. If you do have an Android phone and you have a lock on your screen, so whether it's a swipe code, a numerical code, or an actual password that you have to enter to unlock your screen, if you have a lock on it, you then need to go down to your lock settings and into smart lock, and then you need to add a trusted device, and you're going to add My Rogue as a trusted device. That way your phone will stay connected once it locks. When you get home, connect to your home Wi-Fi. By doing so, when you turn your Rogue on, if there is a new update, it is going to pull it in. It will do so automatically. If you want to force it, you can come back here, go to Info and System Information, and then you can look up a software update. You can hit Start Update just by tapping on that. If there is an update, it typically takes about 15 to 20 minutes to install an update. So you may want to check every now and then. If you go without doing any, by the time they finally gets around to getting done, if there's multiple versions, it can take upwards of an hour or more depending on how long you've gone without doing an update. So we do encourage hooking up to your Wi-Fi right away so that it will manually try and do that, or automatically try and do this every time that you go in. To set your clock, simply hit clock, go into set clock manually, and you can see everything is laid out really nice right there. Now our time is off by 1 minute, so I'm going to increase that, and then I'm just going to back out. And by setting my clock here, it also sets it over on my driver's assist display up here. So if we come back out of here, we're going to come right out of the settings now, and we're going to go to audio. So when we're on audio, on FM I have 12 presets. On satellite radio, which comes free for the first 3 months, I have 18 presets. It's pretty easy to access them, and anything that you want to set as a preset, just press and hold on that number until you hear a beep, and then that will be the new preset for that particular number. Now we have options down the bottom for quick access to some of your sources. However, if I go to my source button up here, I get a full list. So I've got AM, FM, satellite, CD, USB, Bluetooth, auxiliary. If I connect a phone, then depending on the type of phone, Apple CarPlay or Android Auto will also become options there. To work Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you're going to connect through the USB port down below here. You have to be tethered in using the cord. If it's an Apple phone, it will just launch Apple CarPlay right away. If it is an Android phone, you need to go to the Google Play Store and download Android Auto, which is a free download. Once you have that installed on your phone, again, it will automatically launch onto the screen here anytime that you connect. Any applicable apps are going to show up, and what we see the biggest thing that's getting used is your maps. If you've ever used your phone to navigate somewhere using the maps, when you launch Apple CarPlay or Android Auto and you launch the map, the full map will show up on the screen. And if you've got it set for directions, it will speak to you right through the Rogue speaker system, just like a navigation system. Down below here we have our climate control. So I'm going to turn this on. We're going to turn this temperature way down. So with the Special Edition Rogue, you now have dual climate control. This is a feature that would have typically been reserved for a Tech Edition Rogue, which is about 2 levels above this. So this is a great feature. If you have a passenger in the vehicle who likes a different temperature than you, they can simply push the dual button and then set their own temperature. And once your passenger gets out, push it again and everything resets back to the driver's side. Now I'm going to set this for auto, And the way that this works here is it's automatically going to determine where my airflow goes and how high my fan goes. Now I'm going to turn this back down because the fan's a little loud while I'm doing the video. However, what this is trying to do is it's trying to get me up to 21 degrees as fast as possible because it's only 4 degrees Celsius out today. It's going to determine where my airflow goes and how high the fan goes. Now, as I get closer to this temperature, that fan would start to dial back all on its own. In the summer, it's going to crank that up right away, but it's going to be cool air that comes out trying to get you down to that temperature as fast as possible. When you set it for auto, find a temperature that you like, set it for auto, and you never have to worry about it. It will automatically do what it has to keep you at that temperature that you like. If you want to manually set it, our fan is right here. Mode will allow me to change the source of where my airflow is going to go, and if I want it strictly on the windshield, it has its own button over here. My rear defrost is on the far side over here, and that rear defrost is also going to turn on my heated side mirrors. So on a day like today, where my mirror is pretty rained up, if I turn that on, within 5 or 10 minutes, that mirror should be relatively clear. It's going to help get rid of a lot of that because it is a heated side mirror. As I mentioned down below here, we have our USB port. That USB port is going to interact with your audio system. So if you have a thumb drive full of music you want to listen to, you can plug into there, you can plug any device into there, and that's how you're going to use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It will charge your phone while it's using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto as well. We have an auxiliary port, and we have a 12-volt power port here. Moving along down here, we've got our heated seats. We've got high and low. And then inside of our center console, we have another 12-volt power port right here. And we have another USB port, and this one is strictly for charging. If you want to charge your phone without interacting with the system, or you have a passenger who wants to, plug in here. If you're in the front, you're going to feed the cord out here. If you've got somebody in the back, feed the cord out one of these two spots to avoid pinching your cord off. Here on the steering wheel, I've got my Bluetooth hands-free. So this button here is going to answer a call or hang up a call. This button is going to allow me to make an outbound call, or depending on how your phone is set up, you can access your phone. For instance, I can access Siri using this button here, and then send a text message over voice, or access the maps on my phone if I'm using Apple CarPlay. This button here is going to turn on the cruise control, and when I press this, it shows up at the top of my screen there. From there, my cruise is pretty standard. I've got set, resume, cancel, decrease the speed, increase the speed. It will show me the exact speed that I have it set for as soon as I set my cruise. On the left side of my wheel, I've got the volume for my radio. So very easy to alter the volume on my radio. These two buttons down below here will go through the presets on my radio. Now I'm going to hit this right button as I'm watching the screen here, and I can see it's going through the different presets. If I hit the left arrows, it will go back. On AM, FM, and satellite, those will go through your presets. If you are streaming through Bluetooth, USB, CD, Apple CarPlay, or Android Auto, those will skip tracks. Our OK button with the arrows around it is for our driver assist display screen. So right now I'm on a trip odometer and it says trip 1. If I press up or down, it's going to get me to trip 2. And I can do the same thing to get back. Now while I'm on either screen, pressing the OK button will allow me to reset just my trip odometer, or I can reset all of my screens. By resetting all of them, I reset my trip, and on the next screen to the right, I've also reset my fuel economy. Now if we notice, I'm on fuel economy 2, as I'm on trip 2. If I change to trip 1, I'm now on fuel economy 1. So by changing one, you change both, and you can do the same thing on this screen. Reset will allow you to just reset your fuel economy, or you can reset them all. If you notice on the menu, there's an average speed. I currently have this turned off as it's only an average. It does serve a purpose for some people, but for most of my customers, I tend to leave this screen off, and I'll show you where to set that in the settings menu. Our next screen to the right shows what's going on your audio system. So while you're on this screen, you have total control of everything to do with your audio right from your steering wheel. So we've already looked at the volume buttons. We looked at the buttons to either skip tracks or go through your presets. But while I'm on this screen, I can press the OK button to change the source of my audio from FM to satellite to Bluetooth to auxiliary, AM, and then back to FM. If you have anything connected to the USB port, that becomes an option, and if you have a CD-in, that becomes an option as well. Over to the right, we've got our safety shield. So, your safety shield. This vehicle is equipped with automatic emergency braking in the front and collision warning. And the way that's going to work, if you're driving along and the vehicle in front of you suddenly piles on the brakes and you're closing that gap really fast, inside the rogue here, it's going to beep at you and the gas pedal is going to push back against your foot a little bit. If you do not react fast enough at that point, because sometimes you just can't, the beeping would get louder and faster, and if necessary, it will start to apply the brakes for you. The forward collision warning works similarly, where if you're driving along and the vehicle up ahead of you is turning onto a road, so they've slowed right down, you're not slowing down because you know that they're going to be out of the way. It will beep at you as you're approaching the vehicle, but as soon as they get out of the way, the beeping stops. That's your forward collision warning. You have rear cross traffic detection. So as you're backing out of a parking spot, if there is movement behind you within 2 car lengths coming towards you, inside the rogue here, it's going to beep at you, and then utilizing your blind spot indicators, whichever side the movement is coming from, your blind spot indicator on that side of the vehicle is going to be flashing. So that's letting you know that, hey, you're going to want to stop for a second. You get something coming towards you, and there's the direction it's coming from. And if you keep your eye on your backup camera, it will show it going past the screen. The other feature here is our blind spot indicators, which, as we saw, are the LED indicators right here on either side of the vehicle. When you have a vehicle in your blind spot, whether you're passing it or it's passing you, as long as part of the vehicle is in your blind spot, your indicator on that side of the vehicle is going to light up and stay lit up a dull orange. Now, let's say, for example, my driver's side indicator is lit up orange and I signal to go left while that's lit up. It's going to beep at me 3 times inside the rogue, and this is now going to be flashing. It's letting me know, hey, you got something over in your blind spot. Have a look before doing anything. All of those features will give visual warnings on the screen here as well, but when that happens, you're going to be more focused on what's going on around you than you are on the screen. Our next screen to the right will show us our tire pressure. So once you start driving, the tire pressure for each wheel individually will pop up here. If you happen to get a low tire, it's going to pop up and say low tire pressure, but it's going to tell you exactly which tire is low and what the exact pressure is. From there, when you go to fill up your tire, whether it's at the garage or somewhere else, simply start putting air in the tire that it says needs it. Once it gets to the right pressure, your car horn is going to beep to tell you to stop. If you were to continue going after that, you will hit an upper limit. When you hit that upper limit, the horn is going to beep 3 times in a row. You do need to stop at that point or you're going to risk ruining your tire. Also, if you do hit that upper limit, we do recommend doing that to all 4 tires so that you have the same air pressure in all 4 and get even tread wear on all of them. This screen here is applicable to anybody who has the all-wheel drive version because this vehicle comes in front wheel and all-wheel. If you have front wheel, you can ignore this part. If you have all-wheel, this screen is going to show when you're in all-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive. So it's an intuitive all-wheel drive. Pulling away from a dead stop, you're going to be in all-wheel drive. As soon as you get going, it drops down to front-wheel drive. If you need additional power, the all-wheel drive will start to kick in. Or if you hit any traction conditions like hydroplaning, slippery roads, loose gravel, etc., anything that causes those front wheels to slip, you're instantly into all-wheel drive. Now, there is a lock button down here that if I turn that on, I will stay locked in all-wheel drive up to 40 kilometers an hour. Once I go above 40, the all-wheel drive lock comes off and I still drop down to front wheel. However, it is going to engage all-wheel drive as necessary up to 145 kilometers an hour. So anywhere that you can legally drive in North America, you have all-wheel drive available. This screen allows us to review any warnings. So I'm going to go back one screen and intentionally cause a warning. So right away I get a warning pop up on my center display, but I also have my yellow triangle with an exclamation mark. To clear my warning, I'm going to press the OK button. But that keeps my triangle there to let me know later on that, hey, you still got a warning there. So if I'm going down the road later on and I can't figure out why that's there, I can go back over to the warning screen and it tells me warning 1 of 1. I have a door that's not fully shut. If it was wiper fluid, that would show up as well. If you have multiple warnings, it will say 1 of 2 or 1 of 3 or whatever the case is. Using the up or down buttons will allow you to scroll through those. To clear the warning off fully, simply correct the issue. Once you do, everything goes away and you're all free and clear again. Our final screen over to the right is our settings. So, there's a few things that I have changed in the settings. First, I mentioned there's an average speed, so we're going to go into meter settings and the main menu. I have our average speed turned off. You can simply press the OK button to check it and turn it back on. You can turn on any screen that you want. The other one that I have currently turned off is the chassis control. When that's on, that will show you how your vehicle is reacting. If you take a hard turn or hit a hard bump, how your chassis is reacting to counter that. You can turn on or off any screen that you want through this menu here. So I'm going to hit the back button here twice, and then I'm going to go down to vehicle settings. Now, by default, Nissan vehicles will automatically unlock the doors when you turn them off. So it's typically set to ignition off. I change it so that it's set so that the moment you shift your vehicle into park, it unlocks your doors for you. So that's why that says shift to park. Then we're going to back out one screen and we're going to go down to wipers. And we make sure that all of these are turned on. So speed dependent means that your intermittent wipers in the front, as you get faster, the time gap in between each wipe will shorten up a little bit. Reverse link, when your front wipers are on but your back wiper is not. When you put it in reverse, because the front wiper's on, even though the back wiper's not on, it's still going to make a pass on the window to clear it off. Drip wipe is so that when you clean your front window or your back window after it makes 3 swipes, it's going to wait a couple seconds and then it's going to make one more pass at it just to catch anything that's running on a drip. These are the settings that I changed. We do have a function called rear door alert. This is turned off by default. This is a safety feature through Nissan where if you want this on, I recommend setting it for horn and alert. And then from there, anytime that your back door opens, so if you open that back door for a passenger to put in groceries, to put an animal in, whatever the case may be, once you close the door, the vehicle registers that there's something in the back. It has nothing to do with pressure on the back seat. It has to do with the door opening and closing. From there, you get in, you go where you're going. Once you get there and you get out, if you do not open that back door relatively soon, what's going to happen is your horn is going to beep 3 times in a row, then it's going to pause, and then it's going to beep 3 times in a row. It's letting you know you have forgotten something in the back seat. So whatever you've put back there, whether it's, let's say, groceries or a dog or maybe an infant, it's letting you know that they're still back there and you need to go back and get that. So these are the different settings. I do encourage you to play with all the settings. Don't worry about messing anything up. There is a factory reset on the bottom. We're going to have a look at some of the buttons down on the left side of the dash now. Down on the dash, we get a few things here. First up, we've got our brightness for our dash. Secondly, we have a button that says trip reset. So if I look at my odometer, it says 32 kilometers. If I push trip reset, I have a trip A. If I press and hold, it resets. If I push it again, I get trip B. Same thing, press and hold. And then one more to get back to the trip odometer. So you have trip 1, trip 2, trip A, and trip B. 4 trip odometers in total. This button here will turn off my traction control. Now, unless you are familiar with driving without traction control, we recommend leaving this button alone. When I turn this off, I see right here it's off. But now I've got 2 cars crashing over here because I have just disabled the automatic emergency braking and collision warning. So we're going to turn this back on. I've got my fuel release right here, which is on the right side of the vehicle, the passenger side, as indicated by our fuel indicator here. Down below, I've got a heated steering wheel. This is another new feature in the Special Edition Rogue, which is typically reserved for the SV Tech Edition. So again, 2 trim levels up before you get to this. Beautiful feature. When you turn it on, it will stay on for up to 30 minutes, the same as your rear defrost, and my steering wheel gets toasty warm. The all-wheel drive lock we looked at, your sport mode shows up right down here in brown, and my eco mode shows up in green beside that. For your sport mode, if you're losing your passing lane and need to get out and around somebody in a hurry, you can hit sport. Your RPMs are going to rev a little higher, but you're going to have a little more torque on your motor, so it's going to be a little more responsive. You can go out and around in a hurry. Just don't forget to turn it back off. Sport mode is harder on gas. Eco mode will get you better gas mileage. The only thing to be aware of is trying to pull away quickly from a dead stop or trying to get out and around somebody in a hurry is going to feel a little bit sluggish in eco mode compared to normal mode or sport mode. Otherwise, you're never really going to realize that you're driving eco, except your gas will go further. Now if I put it in reverse, I got a nice clear backup camera here. Now with my backup camera, I've got some distance markers here, so green, yellow, and red hash marks. As long as I keep whatever's behind me above the red hash marks, I have room to safely open my hatch. So I just want to keep that flower box, in this case, above the red hash marks, and I have room to safely open the hatch. If I had to get in really close to whatever's behind me, this is my bumper across the bottom of the screen here. With that said, I could get in so that it just looks like my bumper is touching, and when that's the case, I've still got about 3 inches worth of space. Now I do have predictive lines. As I move my wheel, I see an orange line that shows up and starts moving with me. This is going to show where you're going to go, and it is remarkably accurate. So that is your backup camera there. Congratulations again on your 2019 Special Edition Rogue. This is a great vehicle with some absolutely amazing features in it that you would typically pay at least $6,000 more to get some of these features, and they're in this vehicle. I love the setup on this and the simplicity to it, even though it's got a ton of features on it. I hope this refreshes your memory on everything that we went over during the delivery and makes it a little easier for you to use. If you still have any questions, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. You can call, text, email, or stop in to the dealership at O'Regan's Nissan on Baker Drive in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Anything that I can do to help you, I look forward to being able to do that, and I look forward to seeing you when it's time for your next vehicle.